Welcome to Conversations with Big Rich. This is an interview-style podcast. These interviewed are all involved in the off-road industry. Being involved, like all of my guests are, is a lifestyle, not just a job. I talk to past, present, and future legends, as well as business owners, employees, media, and land use warriors. Men and women who have found their way into this exciting and addictive lifestyle we call off-road. We discuss their personal history, struggles, successes, and reboots. We dive into what drives them to stay active in off-road. We all hope to shed some light on how to find a path into this world that we live and love and call off-road.
Whether you're crawling the Red Rocks of Moab or hauling your toys to the trail, Maxxis has the tires you can trust for performance and durability. 4 wheels or 2. Maxxis tires are the choice of champions because they know that whether for work or play, for fun or competition, Maxxis tires deliver. Choose Maxxis. Tread victoriously.
Have you seen 4Low magazine yet? 4Low magazine is a high-quality, well-written, four-wheel drive-focused magazine for the enthusiast market. If you still love the idea of a printed magazine, something to save and read at any time, 4Low is the magazine for you. 4Low cannot be found in stores, but you can have it delivered to your home or place of business. Visit 4lowmagazine.com to order your subscription today. On today's episode of Conversations with Big Rich, I get to talk to an old friend, Matt Westrich. Matt, or as he is known in the 4x4 industry, Big Sarge, has been an announcer for various rock crawling events, along with other types of events. We'll get into that. He has been involved with Red Rock Four-Wheelers, Utah 4x4 Association, been a board member of Blue Ribbon Coalition, all sorts of different things on land use. So I want to say, Matt, thank you so much for coming on and spending some time and talking about your history.
Well, thanks, Rich. I appreciate you reaching out to me and inviting me on the show today.
Yeah. Let's get started where I get started with everybody. And where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in St. Louis County, back in St. Louis, Missouri.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I, in fact, couldn't probably spell Jeep or truck until I went in the Army in 1979.
Okay.
I didn't know anybody with a truck. My one buddy in high school had a 53 Chevy 5-window. That was a POS. In fact, if you took a turn too hard, we had it. It was all you could do to stop it, and you had to move the cab back off the brake pedal.
Yeah, that Midwest rust.
That Midwest rust. And it is still, to this day, in pieces in his garage in St. Charles, Missouri.
Wow. So you were there through high school then, all the way until you went into the service?
Yep, all the way till the time I went in the service. And my first tour of duty was in Hawaii, and I got my hands on my first 4x4. It was actually a 6x6 truck. And I thought, hey, this is kind of fun bouncing through the lava fields. And I bought a 4x4, I bought a 4x4 Wagoneer that was a rusted POS, fixed it up and sold it, and then we left Hawaii.
Okay. So let's backtrack a little bit to those early days there in Missouri. You said St. Charles was the town?
St. Louis was where I was born and raised, St. Louis County.
Okay.
On the north side.
All right, north side. And what were your interests back then, say as a young kid? Were you in scouting or anything like that?
I was in the Boy Scout, the Cub Scouts, the Webelos, the Boy Scouts.
Okay.
Was a scout master over in Europe for the Army.
Oh, wow.
And so I've done some good stuff with the scouting, and went to work for a company my dad was the executive for, called Brown Shoe Company, back in St. Louis, and worked at a few shoe stores and decided that stinky feet was not a life for me, and I went down the street and saw the Army recruiter.
So you didn't want to become an Al Bundy?
No, I was Al Bundy. Bundy's modeled after me. Let me tell you. In fact, I worked for a while in a women's shoe store, the same as Al Bundy.
Oh, nice. So in school, what kind of student were you? Good, indifferent?
I got out of there. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
But I did make it up later in life through the VA. I got 2 degrees. I have a Bachelor of Science in Business and a Bachelor of Science in Computer Information Systems.
Excellent. Most excellent. So
Yeah, I got through high school by the skin of my teeth.
Okay. I was to say, so what were your interests then back then besides, some of the scouting you did? Did you play sports or was it just all girls?
No, it was mostly girls.
Yeah.
Band, choir, and church were great ways to meet girls.
Yes, I guess so. I went a different route. I didn't hit any 3 of those.
Oh. You played sports.
I played sports and cars.
There you go. Yeah, cars. I didn't learn to start wrenching on cars. Well, I was probably about 17 when I started wrenching on my own cars. I started taking classes at the community college in that.
Okay.
And it really came in handy when I was stationed in Hawaii, and I was a buck private, and you were lucky back then if you had 2 dimes to rub together, let alone 2 quarters. And so anything that went wrong in my car, I had to fix it myself back then days. I couldn't afford to take it to a Hawaiian mechanic.
Right. And so what year did you graduate from high school?
1979.
79. Okay. So 79, you're working as a shoe salesman, and then so that you could afford, just life, I guess. And then you decided you had to get into the military, right? That was the next step.
I decided I wanted to get out of St. Louis. It was a nice place. All my family was there and everything, but I just didn't see me going anywhere, doing anything. And so I decided that, let's join the military and see the world. And I did 15 years.
Okay. Wow. 15. All right. And where was your first, where did you get stationed first?
Well, my first duty station, I was assigned my first permanent party. I went to 2 military schools before I was sent to Hawaii. And the second one was Air Force firefighter school. So my first tour of duty, I went to Hawaii, where I met my beautiful wife, Christine, and started having kids and stuff like that. And we decided we didn't want to stay in Hawaii, so we transferred out. I became a communications tech, component level, and went to Georgia for a while, and then they sent me to Fort Knox for my next duty station. Spent about a year and a half there, and they sent me where I drove checker cabs part-time.
Really?
I drove the last of the checker cabs. Yep.
That's pretty cool.
They sent me to Germany. Yeah, it was kind of cool. I mean, I would love to find myself an old checker and restore it.
Right.
Except they were such rust bombs.
Oh, I would imagine.
Yeah. And they sent me to Germany. I did 2 back-to-back tours over there, and then they wanted to send me to Washington, D.C. to work. And I said, hell no, I don't want to raise 2 kids in Washington, D.C. I said, thank you for the interview. I appreciate it very much, but no. And then they said, okay, we're going to send you to Utah. And I was like, Utah? What the heck is in Utah? And there was a signal battalion here in Utah, and they sent me to it, and it was an absolutely wonderful place. And I've been here for 34 years.
Nice. Never in your wildest imagination thinking that you would end up in Utah.
Never.
What did you know about Utah before going there? Couldn't even spell it. There you go.
I don't think I could have spelled it. Yeah, where's Utah? I don't know if I could have found it on a map.
Oh Lord. So the let me backtrack a little bit. What kind of stuff did your family do when you were growing up for vacations or anything like that? Just, did you guys go camping at all or anything?
No, my dad was an executive for a shoe company. He was an absolute wonderful father. But when it came to camping, he was a city boy. He was raised in St. Louis City during the Depression.
Okay.
And so him and my mom was raised in the same way. My grandfather was a taxi driver, bus driver, limousine driver, and my grandmother worked for the telephone company, and then my mom's mom was divorced, and she worked for the telephone company, and that's how my mom and dad got together, was through the two working at the telephone company. Back when people introduced each other's kids to each other and they ended up getting married.
Right.
That don't happen no more.
No.
And anyway, neither one of them were into that in any way, shape, or form. Now, they did like a nice vacation. We went to Aspen, Colorado one year. We traveled, and we went to Norfolk, Virginia, where my father was stationed when he was in the Navy during Korea. So, you know, we vacationed like that. Camping was just not a thing. And man, I'll tell you what, the Army changed me on that. I got to camp a lot in the Army.
Yeah, here's your clothes, and here's a tent to match.
And here's a sleeping bag. Have a nice day.
So then,
Yeah.
when you're in Hawaii, what was that like, going from St. Louis and then finding yourself in Hawaii?
I mean, St. Louis is a very diverse area, and so going to Hawaii, it was a little different for me, but it was very diverse, and I enjoyed it. I got to out and met local people. I had some locals that I worked with, and they introduced me to more local people, and you know, half the island's related to the other half of the island. So once you got in good with locals, it was a an easy life on my days off. As a fireman, I only worked every other day, so I went to college on my days off and worked on cars a little bit in my garage.
Okay, and you were stationed on the Big Island?
I was stationed on the Big Island at a place called Pahakaloa, not to be confused with Pahakalolo.
Well, yeah, absolutely no confusion there whatsoever. So, what's your favorite Hawaiian meal? Loco Moco?
Oh, just about anything cooked in teriyaki.
Okay.
Before
Spam?
I met my wife, I knew a couple of local girls, and either you ate what they fixed you or you starved. And as a private, I ate what they put in front of me. So I learned to love sashimi and sushi and ahi tuna and all kinds of dishes, rice, and more rice. And then when you get tired of the rice, you got noodle.
So that's a real big change from what you were probably eating, what you grew up on.
Oh yeah. I mean, fried chicken, pork steaks, stuff like that. Man, yeah, you just went to the corner, and way back then it was a lot different. Like for those who've been over there now, like if you've gone to Kona, Kona was nothing really, and Hilo was, not near as big as it is, and they didn't have a mall. We didn't even have a Walmart on the island back in the day. There was like a five and dime store. That was it for finding things cheap.
Wow. Yeah, it's different now.
Yep, you got Walmart, and you got the malls, and you got AT&T, and you got pretty much almost everything you want. It can take a while sometimes to get some things. Like my family's still over there, and recently I was 10 weeks out and $5,000 to be installed for the cheapest garage door I could get.
Wow.
So it's a beautiful place to visit. It's a beautiful place to live. But the prices can sometimes just drive you a little bit nuts.
Yeah. We went, for a vacation over there, and it's too small.
That's called rock fever.
Okay, because I definitely got it. I mean, I think within the first 3 days on the Big Island, I'd driven every single paved road and probably a lot of the unpaved roads, like twice.
Yeah, it's and it used to be more dangerous. Like if you went up over the saddle up to where I used to work at,
right.
I worked at about the 28, 29 mile marker going up the mountain. It's at 6,500 feet.
Right.
And it was a 2-lane road that was so bad that back in the day, rental car agreements had that you would not drive on that road. And now it's beautiful. I mean, it's just step over and down, and you go right past where I used to work at.
Yeah, I'm sure I've been by it a number of times.
Yep. And oh, by the way, thanks for introducing me to Sean over there. He's a wonderful guy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yes. The four-wheel drive club over there, everybody there on the Big Island is just super nice.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And I got lots of good people over there.
Yeah. So then, you were in Germany. What area of Germany were you in? What town? Where were you stationed in Germany?
I was at a place called Ayerskasern, which no longer exists. It was a Luftwaffe airfield during World War II.
Okay.
And then after World War II, it was taken over by the military. And at the time I was there, it was 3rd Armored Division Forward, which was Patton's old division.
You said it was one of Patton's old divisions?
Yeah, it was one of, it was the division that Patton was in charge of when he passed away, when he got killed over in Germany.
Right, when the Army decided that they didn't need him anymore.
Could very well be. Could very well be.
I think that's one of those conspiracy theories that's not a theory.
Wouldn't be the first time something like that happened.
He just wanted to march right on to Moscow, and the powers that be was like, oh, we don't want to open up that hornet's nest.
I think Churchill would have been behind that one too, but
yeah,
that's a different story.
Anyway, yep, that's for the conspiracy theorist podcast.
But loved it over there. Loved it over there. Oh my gosh. I had the opportunity to be a bus driver, so I was a bus driver over there as part of my additional duties, and I would take people on tours to crystal factories and parts of Germany for a 3-day weekend or something like that. We'd go places, do things, morale under the morale support people, and it was a great. I left there kicking and screaming. I did. My wife worked for the government. I worked for the government. While I was in the Army, and my kids had good schools. I lived right down the street from the schools, and it was wonderful. I left there 3 months prior to Desert Shield, and my commander got so tired of me asking to go for him to send me back to my old unit in Germany that he finally gave me a lawful order and told me don't ever ask him again.
Wow.
Well, I spent 6 years in the same combat forward support unit. Nobody to this day does that. But they offered me extra money and said, hey, look, we'll pay you $200 a month to stay for another 3 years. I'm like, okay, well, I could get some really sucky unit in the States. I know this unit. That's not that bad. Why not stay? So we decided to stay. Yep, I loved being over in Germany. I did 2 tours over there with my family for 6 years. My 2 V8 over in Germany that I had gotten from a kid who shipped a car with a bad engine, and I traded him out of that. I gave him an old Mazda I had for him and his family to get around, and I took his non-running Ford pickup. And my mom and dad were coming over from the stateside, and they put an entire rebuild kit in one of the suitcases for me.
Wow.
That's back when we had great auto craft shops in the military.
And you dropped out there when you told me what kind of car it was. What was it?
It was a Ford pickup truck with a 302 V8.
Okay.
Kind of a rare duck over in Germany.
Awesome. I was actually conceived in Germany. My parents were, my dad was stationed there. My mom chased him over there and got married. They got married in Germany the first time. And then when they got back to the States, they got married again. But yeah, I've got some Germany in me. But only because that's where I was conceived.
So schnitzel and some good beer.
Yep, pretty much. So then, after Germany, you came back to the States?
After Germany, I came here to Utah.
Right.
And I was stationed with the 1119th and the 1120th Signal Battalions here in Ogden, Utah, in the old Defense Depot, Ogden. and that no longer exists. And I joined a club here in Ogden, Utah. I met him at a park one day for Roy Days. I live in the city of Roy, and they have a big shindig every year. And I met these four-wheelers at the park. They had a teeter-totter set up. And I'm like, this is some crazy stuff. And I had bought a Ram Charger while I was in Germany. It was a 1988, bought it brand spanking new from the PX at Rhine-Main Air Base. First thing I did was drove it on vacation to Italy with my family.
Nice.
And I literally drove it into the Mediterranean Sea outside of Livorno, Pisa.
On purpose?
On purpose, just so I could say I did it. I just drove it in enough to get the tires wet.
Okay.
Okay, that wasn't Bahamas through the town. I just went down the beach and came back off. I said, well, let's see somebody else say they did that. So
I peed in the Mississippi once.
Oh, great. What year?
Oh no, this was probably only about 8-9 years ago.
Okay, about 5 years ago, I put my mom and dad's ashes in there. So, okay, we're good.
Okay. Yeah, I was already out in the Gulf.
Okay, you didn't want you peeing on my mom and dad's ashes. And the dogs.
And the dogs.
Yeah.
So you.
Me and my brother thought we were going to go to jail for that one, but anyway.
So the Ram Charger, you brought it back from Germany, and you
brought
had
it back
it there
from Germany,
in Roy.
Drove it out here to Utah, and joined the four-wheel drive club called the Bighorn Four-Wheel Drive Club, and met some wonderful people. And through the Bighorn, I got involved with other organizations. I was put on the board of the Utah Four-Wheel Drive Association, where I've sat for 33 years, and helped other clubs here in the state of Utah get started. I helped Upland get started in southern Utah. Of course, I've worked wonderfully and enjoyed my time with Trail Hero. Have you ever heard of the Trail Hero?
Yeah, it's some small event in southern Utah. Yeah. I heard about it. Yeah.
It's some great people putting that on down there.
Well,
and of course,
I don't know. That could be debated.
I heard their parents were cool though. Anyway, and I've worked with the Red Rock four wheelers for years. Probably 20 years with them. And then with the Bighorn, we used to put on events here in Utah. We used to put on mud bogs out at Antelope Island. And then we started putting on mud bogs and demolition derbies and good fun stuff like that. And I got into announcing those here because nobody else in the club wanted to pick up a microphone, and they didn't want to hire anybody. I said, well, I'll give it a try. What the heck? And that's how I became the Big Sarge, because I was still active duty back then on the microphone. And I've announced mud bogs, tractor pulls. I worked with United Truck and Tractor Pulling for a while as an announcer for them. So I've worked with URock, and then of course I worked with you at We Rock.
Yep. And
then Ultra 4. I've done some for them. So I've had a wonderful time announcing wonderful events throughout the West.
And what were those early? Let's jump into the rock crawling part. What were those early days at URock like? What was the first event you went to announce?
Tell
me some stories about that.
Have I got a story there? First event, Craig Stubb brings me in for head of security. Yeah, let's bring an old Army sergeant in. Let's bring a young Army sergeant in as head of security for an event. First thing in the morning, the throttle's stuck on a rig. And this is way before we started using the barriers and everything.
Right.
The Jersey barriers. And the throttle stuck wide open on a vehicle and went straight into the crowd. And ran over several people, and I get the call on the radio. Me and Craig, we're booking it. Yes, there was a time in my life where I could book it and I could run.
Mine too.
And we get over there, and I just did what the Sarge does. I just went Sarge. And I'm barking out orders, and I'm, calling for medics, and I'm calling for an ambulance, and I'm doing all this stuff. And I'm standing right in the middle of it. I'm making people get back. I'm like, I want crowd control here. Everybody get back. I want these people working on it. I mean, I was just, boom, doing what needed to be done. And it was sad. I had to do that, but, Anyway, so the next night and I really didn't pay attention to who it was. I had paid attention to what needed to be done.
Right.
And I didn't notice who it was who had gotten injured. So the next night, one of the girls who had been injured, her sister was still in the hospital. She was there. I want to think this was part of the Captain Flandreau crew back in the day. And so and she comes up to me at the award ceremony that night down there by, I can say it's by the Cracker Barrel, that big auditorium behind there where they do the dinosaur stuff.
Okay.
And she comes up to me and says, Sarge, and I said, what happened to you? And she says, well, I was one of them that got run over. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry. And she says, yeah, but I knew I'd be okay. I heard you standing over me. I heard you barking out orders. I knew I'd be okay.
Wow.
So, and I think it was the same event. The Browns were above me on a course. I had my back. No, I was an announcer, so I don't think it was that event. A later event, I was out there. And both of these were in St. George back in the day when we were on the southwest side of St. George.
Yeah, where Snow Canyon is at now.
Right. That's now all houses.
Right.
And I had my back. I had my microphone. I had my back, and Craig was standing next to me. And me and Craig are talking back and forth. And Craig goes to push me. Well, that skinny little guy is not going to push me. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he looks up, he points up, and as I'm looking, here comes one of the Browns in the buggy in air, rolling off the obstacle right onto us. And I think that might have been the fastest I ever moved in my life. and yeah, I call that fun times. Anything to get my heart going.
Right.
And, it was great, back before everything got all the events, back before everything got so corporate and insurance-y and lawyers and everything else. I mean.
Where we were just rednecks on the rocks.
Yeah, we were just rednecks on the rocks having a good time. What was it one saying that Fire and Ice had? It was yard sale. Every time because back in them days, you drove your vehicle. I bet you 50% of the people drove their vehicle to the events.
Right.
Had their stuff in the back of the rig, and they would roll, and all their crap just goes across the course. Yard sale.
Yep, yard sale. Well, that's how the little hill there in Moab got its name, Potato Salad Hill.
Yep. And then everybody would help pick up stuff. I mean, for participants and spectators alike, because there wasn't really, again, we didn't have the jersey barrier. We really didn't have that much in the way of flags. I mean, people had the common sense to get the hell out of the way. But now as you well know, now the attorneys and the insurance companies and counties and everybody else want to say you got to do this, you got to do that, and you can't even put an event on near a town anymore because there's no property near a town that can have an event or will take a risk of having such event on their property.
Very true.
We used to use Snow Canyon. We used to use out by what is now the new airport in St. George. We used to use Rocky Mountain Raceway. That was really great. That was right in the middle of the city.
Yeah.
On the west side. But, we set up a course and we left it there. And we could use it the next year. And again, progress. That's all that drag strip is gone. Yeah, the young sold that to be, and it's now a subdivision out there. I mean, it's just, progress. I'm waiting for the first electric rock buggy to show up.
Actually, we had that back in the early 2000s. Tony Kasabasic had an electric unlimited car. He campaigned it with us in back. I think it might have been back in the CalRock days. In fact, before 2005. But anyway, it was around that time. And then he also, I think it was the same buggy that he won one of the the event that was in Wendover.
Wendover.
Yeah, there was a rock crawling event there that he actually won, and I think it might have been in the electric buggy.
Huh, I'll be darned. I know Utah Valley University, their automotive team put an electric one together, but I don't think they've ever competed it. But it was pretty nice looking. I know I saw it at SEMA.
Okay. And I know right now there's probably 5 or 6 being built in various parts of the country. In fact, my partner in We Rock, Jake Good, him and Caleb, his son, are building an electric buggy right now for Caleb to compete in. So, be interesting. It will be interesting to see how they do. Instant torque. What else about those first early years at URock?
Well, just the great people I got to work with. I mean, like Craig Stubb, Ranch, the Paties, and then all the competitors. I mean, I could probably spend the rest of the day talking about all the great competitors. I mean, like Bart Jacobs. You remember Bart Jacobs?
Absolutely.
Wonderful guy. And a lot of these guys in URock, I had known through the Utah Four-Wheel Drive Association because we used to put on, quarterly trail rides together. And guys like him would show up. Brett Davis, Creighton King. I mean, he competed in the early days.
Yep.
Before he became Mr. Maxis. Just, oh my gosh. And Tony, Jesse, my gosh. And all wonderful, wonderful people. And the great sponsors we had back then, too. Right. I remember one time I said BFG in front of Jeff Cummings. And he lit me up for saying BFG. It's BF Goodrich. I said, yes, sir. Get that straight. I said, okay.
Well, that's awesome.
Another time, I just asked him, I said, back in you remember the Toyo models?
Right.
How could we ever forget the Toyo models? And I said, Jeff, I said, how come you don't have models? He says, I don't need no blankety blank, 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 blank models to sell my tires. I said, okay. I mean, and then we had Jeff Cummings. He was absolutely a wonderful guy. He still is. I mean, he's a wonderful guy. The sponsors we had.
Kind of a grumpy old cat, though.
He can be grumpy, but he can be a lot of fun, too.
Absolutely. I'm giving him heck because I know he listens to the podcast, and I'm going to be seeing him here in about 2 weeks. So I'm going to have to make sure that he listens to this one.
I can remember some, great times afterwards. After the event, everybody's sitting around having a beer. Kenny bringing some special stuff from back east, apple pie.
Yep.
Just all the local folks that would come out and stuff, and good times. Sponsors like Skyjacker,
Lonnie McGurry.
Yep. And they Skyjacker's still owned by the same family. The Currys, another great one. We still got Craig out there. Greg out there doing Milky, doing Raceline wheels.
Yep.
Yeah. And and all the great sayings. Oh, Tom Woods custom drive shafts. My shafts are Woody. Is yours? And I used to work right next door to his shop for the government. Okay. Well, the local Budweiser distributor was between us, but I mean, we were both out there, and and it's good to see some of the families, having some of the companies taken over by family. I mean, so many of them we have lost recently to, family doesn't want to run the business, or they just get an offer that's too good to be true. And the businesses go off into some big corporate mess.
Yeah, that's the perfect way of putting it too.
Yeah.
But I don't blame the guys that have built
Oh,
their
no.
business and then
No.
to take the buyout and move on, because it's not necessarily something that the kids want to take over, and sometimes those offers are life changing.
Yeah. I mean, and sometimes there's situations going on in people's lives where it really is a good time for them to make a move.
Right.
And that's sad. And then like at events like EJS, what once was 5 different booths is now one small booth representing those 5 businesses.
Right.
And then then they get a lot more pickier too with their budgets and how they're going to support things like land use, for raffles and stuff like that. And Lord have mercy if a major company made a cash donation to land use. I mean, that's just taboo, I think.
Well, I think I think that's happening across the board, even with with advertising and everything else. I mean, there's so much stuff has been turned into the social media side of things that where everything is a click or a view, not necessarily it counted as ROI in dollars. It's more like, well, if somebody's looking at it, then they're gonna eventually buy it. And I think that I don't always think that that's the case, but hey, that's not my place to say. I don't own one of those businesses.
Yeah. As president of the U4, it's difficult to, and also as a member of the Blue Ribbon Coalition, it's hard to get corporations to donate. I have been very lucky with having BF Goodrich as a sponsor for the Utah Four-Wheel Drive Association, along with Warren Winch, Factor 55 now, as major sponsors. So we can give away great product at our raffles, and that's basically where I make all my money for the Utah Four-Wheel Drive Association, is raffles, and in organizations like the Desert Rats, which is the Winter 4x4 Jamboree, make a big donation to the Utah Four-Wheel Drive Association every year. And through good work like that, I mean, the Desert Rats, if you're familiar with Sand Hollow, you would kind of try to park your vehicles, your truck and trailer, up by the water tanks. Well, the Desert Rats got grants, and we raised money and everything else. And Utah Four-Wheel Drive Association donated, and UPLA donated, and we now have a paved road up to the water tanks so that people can get their vehicles up there safely, easily, and unload and hit the trail.
Sand Hollow, when I first started wheeling, that was when I lived down, in the mid to late 90s, and I lived in Cedar City. We would go down there and wheel for the sand dunes, not for the rocks, because we had 3 peaks, and we had all that area out in in that area. But we'd go down to Sand Hollow, and we would have to park across the street from Walmart, and then wheel in. There was no roads. There was nothing out there. There was no water tank. There was no lake. There was absolutely nothing out there. And man, that has all changed.
And in the land use community, we've had to fight very heavily to keep that area from being developed. We had a great big problem where some BLM land was being they wanted to trade BLM land for this guy who they had said, well, you can't use this land for what you wanted to use it for because it's a turtle habitat area now. And although you want it, we're saying it's a turtle habitat area. So they wanted to give a big chunk of right there, the face looking down at the lake, at the reservoir up there, to this guy to do a land swap, and we fought that tooth and nail. And with help from the county, they said we weren't going to, issue permits for the land, and we had the city of Hurricane say we're not issuing any permits for that area for water or sewer or anything like that. So you can trade for that land, I guess, but you're not going to be able to use it. And the next problem would have been if they had gone through with that. If they had gone through, you got to look at it. You got to look at the entire picture. And the next thing would have been, well, okay, so we can wheel all around this area. We just can't wheel in this area because there's houses in there. And they were going to put like $1 million homes on the side of this hill. And so it would have been $1 million homes. And the next thing they would have been complaining about would be the dust that we're raising out in the play areas. Well, yeah, because there are play areas and we raise dust.
You know what? I've seen that area blow through there, the haboobs or whatever you want to call them. It looks like the Middle East. You know, I mean,
Yep.
At the end of every event that I've ever done in that area, you know, it seems like there's always a windy day during an event. And, you know, you can't even see 20 feet, whether it's part of that area or not, you know. It's but yeah, it's crazy what development has been going on and losing land to that.
I had actually put out to him that if he won and got that land, that I would tie it up, and I would be sure to tie it up in court, so he couldn't get a permit for it, and so long that his grandchildren wouldn't be able to use it. Now I don't know if that helped her in any way, shape, or form, but I was ready. We have the funds, and we had the power that we were going to not let this happen. But we got really lucky on that one. Some we don't get so lucky on.
Right.
We got lucky on that one that the city and the county both backed us on it, and so it turned out pretty good. The next one that we have going on down there is at the west side. They want to put in a reservoir, and
is that going to be like on the side of the west side of the golf course going up that canyon then?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe that's the area. Yes. So that's going to happen. That is going to happen. I mean, we have to have water down there, and the area is growing, and we can't stop that kind of project. But we're trying to make darn sure that nobody sells anybody gets their hands on any of the property around it and puts houses on it for people to live on.
Right.
Camping area, okay, but building houses, no. Yeah,
especially if they put that reservoir in and to the east side of it, where all the activity goes on now for off road.
Right. I think we figured we would lose about 2 or 3 parts of a trail down there, of trails down there with this reservoir going in. But again, it's got to be done. Somebody's got to lose in this situation, and for most people, that land is, not usable for them.
Right.
It's only us crazies.
True.
So it is what it is, and we got to fight that. But then you've got, we have a very interesting developing thing out at, I don't know if you've ever heard of 5 Mile Pass up here.
No, I've heard of it, but I'm not real familiar with it.
Oh, we got to get you wheeling out there sometime. And it's on the, it's out in Tooele County. It's west of Lehigh, Utah.
Okay.
And there's 740 acres that this is owned, and it's an off-road recreational area, and it's spotted by all kinds of things. BLM owns most of it, but there's private party interest in it. There is commercial interest in it. Little different plots of land everywhere. And on the north side, there is 740 acres for sale right now, or 714 acres. Anyway, 700 plus acres of it is for sale. And the guy wants, the company, I guess, is the one that bought Miller Motorsports Park, owns that property right now. And they want to sell it off. And they're asking $2.4 million for it with no water rights and we're sitting there going, well, there's trails going through it. Do these people not realize that there is roads going through this property and that we have a legal easement that we're using through there. And everybody's looking at each other like, well, we don't know what's going on. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Some people were saying it'd be a nice place for a KOA. And I'm like, out here? To me, I thought it was a little crazy, but I think $2.4 million for that 700 acres is absolutely insane. But I guess
especially if you've got no mineral rights or water rights on it.
No mineral rights, no water rights, no rights except you got a place to park.
Interesting.
And the property lines, I use the Ox mapping system.
Right, Onyx. Yep.
Onyx, yeah, and it shows me that the property line goes right down the middle of the parking lot that we use right now for the snakes out there, it's a big big trail that we use, and we drive through part of the property going out that way. And I'm like, well, this is going to be interesting if somebody decides to fence off this parking lot. So, land use is a fickle thing. Nobody likes to talk about it. I mean, it is. You want to get people to run away. Hopefully, they're not turning off your podcast. You want to get people to run away. Start talking about land use and donations, and what it costs. Because land use isn't just about going out and cleaning up a trail. It is about legal cases. We have organizations that have assets in the millions and millions of dollars that do nothing but go out and create lawsuits because that's their job. That is what they're paid to do. And yes, I'm talking about SUA.
Whoa.
Right here in Utah. That's my biggest problem child is SUA. And you when you're up against somebody who has millions of dollars in assets, millions and millions of dollars in donations, and then if they win a lawsuit, they turn around and get the money that they spent. And I'm sure, well, I'm not going to talk about what they charge per hour, but they get all that money back if they win their case. So if they spend $250,000 or $350,000 or $500,000, the government then has to pay them.
Right.
And that's how these people make their money. That's how they survive. And that's how, and people are like, oh, save the spotted Houdini owl that nobody can seem to find. Oh, that sounds great. Hey, we want to save this trail. Nobody cares. Except for us. And we only have so much money. General Motors ain't backing us. Ford ain't backing us. Well, Ford's backing us a little bit, but it would be nice, if they would back us and help us keep public lands public. 67% of Utah is public lands. 95% of Nevada is public lands.
Right, and then you go to some place like Texas where
no public lands.
No public lands. Yeah, 2%.
Yeah. You go. I'm going to say east of Colorado, and you got no public lands, really, to speak of. I mean, 1%, 2%, a state park. I mean, I never would have thought of such a thing back in my days in St. Louis. And there's a lot of great wheelers now coming out of St. Louis. I met some really great folks coming out here to the safari and stuff like that. They got to truck all the way across country to come out and play and have fun in an unlimited basis. So it's make a donation to BRC today.
Absolutely. And I think that one of the biggest failures right now is the UTV companies, power sports companies.
Oh God, yes. I forgot about those.
That they're creating a vehicle that basically can race around on, and I mean not just go out and drive, but race around on any kind of terrain. And but they sell so many of them. I mean, they sell everything that they make, so they don't feel that they need to protect it. They don't need to throw money into land use or any kind of organization because they don't need they don't need the advertising.
Right. They don't. They don't. They that's and the scary part is anybody can you know go out and spend sign on the line $30,000 for a very comparable, a very competent buggy,
Yes.
and go out and play. I mean, and I got good credit. Oh, I got the $40,000 one. Oh my God! At least with a Rubicon, you can drive the dang thing to work,
True. True.
or a Bronco. You know, let's not be picky. Broncos matter too,
Absolutely.
and then Toyotas, and the Toyotas, and the Suzukis.
Do they even make
Me-
Suzukis anymore?
They do, but not in this country. They don't import them to this country.
Right.
Suzuki went out of business. And after the great Suzuki of North America went out of business, I want to say it was like 12 or 13.
Okay.
Stuck people with about $500 million in bills.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was a big bankruptcy. But it was just Suzuki of North America. And I drive a Suzuki still. I drive a Suzuki X90. Fat man in a little car.
So what's on the plate? What else are you doing? You're working.
Well, I'm working, and I'm on a new plan here at work. It's called the 9-12-3.
Okay.
They piss me off bad enough by 9 o'clock in the morning. I'll put my retirement paperwork in at noon, and I'm out the door at 3.
And where are you working?
Let's just say I work for the federal government.
Okay. Yes. That's what I thought. All right.
Again, we don't want people to tune out of your podcast.
Or lose friends.
I don't want to lose friends. I want people to still come up and talk to me at events.
Are you still doing anything with the dealerships?
No, because the dealership I worked for, which was a family-owned dealership, sold out to a corporation.
Ah, okay.
That was kind of sad. I've got a few friends still working in management positions within the dealership community, and I still occasionally will set somebody up with a good deal on a Rubicon or a Gladiator and stuff like that. And they still call me up. Hey, I got something that's right up your alley. I get some call. I work also with a group called the Utah Off-Road Recovery Team.
Okay.
I helped form that up, and because me and like Brett Davis been doing recoveries here in Utah that other people can't do for like way before there was YouTube.
Right. Everybody's become a YouTube star.
Everybody's a YouTube recovery expert now, right? And there's some really good ones out there. But the we formed the off-road recovery team, and what we do is we volunteer and go out and do recoveries that other people won't do. And I took my PowerWagon up into the Wasatch Front to do a recovery, and have you ever gone down a trail and it starts getting narrower and narrower and narrower, and you're like, oh shit?
Oh yeah.
Well, I got into
I did it with a trailer.
Yeah, and I did $19,000 worth of body damage to my PowerWagon.
Oh wow.
So my insurance agent is still talking to me.
Amazing.
And it gave me a chance to do some different stuff to it. I took the factory flares got messed up on both sides, so I put now the nice 2-inch pocket flares from Bushwhacker onto it, and redid all the decals down the side and everything. So it looks really good. It looks really good, but it's just $19,000 worth of body damage. And this was the insurance company. This was the body shop. My insurance company said, take it to this company. They'll take care of you. I said, okay.
So my experience, I was doing the Arizona Peace Trail and had the Raptor, and then had my adventure trailer that Rob Philandro built behind me. And that trailer tracks so nice. I can go through like anybody's drive through, even like Starbucks where they're really tight, and it
Yep.
tracks with inside the wheelbase of the pickup. And so going up the road was fine, and it's uphill, steep embankment up on one side, cliff embankment on the other side going down, and I get about 1.5 miles up this road, and there's a washout. And I'm looking at it going, if I just bomb through this, I can probably make it across, give myself a 65% chance I can make it across if I didn't have the trailer. Because all I could see was the trailer just sloughing off and pulling the back end of the Raptor around, right? So
Right.
I look at my options and I'm thinking, okay, I can't just turn down the embankment and drive down this cliff. I can't go around this because it's a cliff on the left-hand side going straight up. So I start to back down. Now I got to back down. I had to back down probably 1/4 mile until I found a spot where I thought I could go turn right and just off the embankment and make it to the bottom into a wash and then drive, go back around and find a different road.
Yeah.
And that's what I ended up doing. But my Lord, it was no body damage, but there was some hairy moments. I can remember Shelley going, "What can I do to help you?" And I said, "Close your eyes." Take a deep breath, close your eyes.
The problem with the PowerWagon, it's so powerful that I wasn't feeling hitting anything. I never felt a single twig hit the side of that vehicle, let alone the tree stump that hit it. Good fun stuff.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so I just got to be a little more careful with the recoveries I go out on. I hate the Salt Lake and the Salt Flats. I won't go out on those two.
I don't like anything with mud. I think that if people get stuck in the mud, that they can just stay there.
Well, unfortunately, in Utah, we have wonderful people who just make wrong choices in life. And they end up out there at Dell in the mud flats, or we've helped a couple of commercial companies. We've helped, with stuff, and we've helped a lot of people that have just gone out and oops, it looked, and I'll tell you what, I've been out there too myself. That stuff looks solid as a rock, and you put weight on it, doesn't feel bad, but as soon as you spin a tire, it goes right through that crust and down into the muck, and you're gone. So we've got long tow straps and winching straps to pull people out, and we have lots of mat tracks. And in fact, the Utah Four-Wheel Drive Association is now sponsored by Matt Tracks, and we appreciate their sponsorship. But so it's unfortunately, people go out there. They had a big concert out there, and it rained. I mean, it's some funny stuff to watch. But some of these people take motorhomes out there and they just go sink right down. It's just. It's I hate to say funny, but yeah, it's funny. And
so
caravans.
Yeah, So what was the one event in your long illustrious career as announcer that and don't pick one that you did for me just because I'm interviewing you. But what was the one event that you really liked, the whole atmosphere or whatever, and what was that event?
Well, it was the truck and tractor. No.
Okay.
No. Gosh. All the events have always been great. I mean, every event has always had a good feel, a good aurora to them. And I've always had fun. Otherwise I wouldn't do it. See, that's one thing I've never, ever announced for the money. I've only done it because I've had fun doing it with the folks that are out there, working with great folks, making family memories with me and my wife. You know, spectators coming out there making family memories. The teams out there, and the teams, we're all family. And you know, working, you know, helping teams. I remember Becca Webster.
Yep.
We were down at St. George, same spot. Her son, and this was like, I was like my third or fourth event, maybe. Her son fell, split his head wide open. And there was kind of a panic, you know, well, you know how family is. I mean, you know, oh my gosh. And their trailer was blocked in. There was no way to get their truck out. I just tossed them the keys to my new truck. Here you go. See you when you get back. I mean, that's the kind of stuff we do for each other. You know, I've had plenty of people help me out in the past. And it's always been a fun and a great atmosphere where we would all help, you know, each other out. I've seen sponsors help other sponsors out. And the funniest one was when it rained down in Phoenix at the Firebird Raceway.
All right.
And so it was a very memorable event for me because first off, it was like 117 degrees, and I'm asking the Patey's and Ranch, are you guys trying to kill the fat man? What are you doing here? It was 117 starting that event off in the afternoon, and all these Phoenix people are like, it's a nice day out. And I'm like, you're out of your bloody minds. I've like 2 minutes. My clothes have changed colors. I've got so much sweat on me. Anyway, I'm not built for that place. and so it started raining when we got done about 11 o'clock at night. 2 o'clock the next day, it hadn't stopped raining. And I mean, it was where we used to do it was out there at the old site where they had they used to do the concerts before the concert stage burned down.
Right.
Or burned up and got all messed up. And it was a big bowl. So I go out to pick up all the sound equipment because we're like, well, this ain't going to work. We're just going to have to call it. And so they called it, and I go out to pick out the equipment, and my brand spanking new truck slid backwards right into an obstacle.
Nice.
I know, but it was good. I mean, you know, good fun. I was having a blast blowing through the sand out there, getting, trying to get everything all picked up and get it out of there. We had to hook up, a big, huge bucket loader onto Creighton's rig to get his big old back then we had a great big huge Class C toter.
Yep.
And that beautiful Maxxis mobile. And we had to hook up a strap to that to pull him out of there. I mean, that place was, and everybody was pulling everybody. I mean, it was hilarious. It was hilarious. And back then, they starting off with that's back when we started with the cranes. Remember the big old forklifts?
Right.
The all-terrain, and we happened to flip one. But all the good fun we've had back in those days. So it was great family stuff.
So what are you still doing? And what events are you still helping with?
There's so little around here anymore. Mostly what I do is I work with the Utah Four-Wheel Drive Association these days. I've been having some physical problems. I was in the ER 4 times for my heart in January.
Oh, wow.
I had heart surgery in February. April, I got COVID for the first time. And it was pretty smooth sailing. And but I've had some lung issues going on since then. So I've been doing a little bit of here and there when people ask for some help. I give them help, and but mostly working on public lands and the events like the Winter 4x4 Jamboree, Trail Hero, getting us ready for Easter Jeep Safari. Land use is a 24/7. We have a person at BRC. Please go to brc.com. who does nothing but watch federal sites for comment periods. Because if you don't put in a comment, you get nothing. You can't say anything after the fact. If you put a comment in and you don't like the way they finally decide on something, you can then sue them. But if you do not put a comment in, you have no leg to stand on to sue them because you never said that you didn't like something to begin with. So I just took that all over the place on you, didn't I?
Right.
And then, but fun events, oh my gosh, just so many of them. And it's great to, help out people like at the Winter 4x4 Jamboree. I do the late registrations and fixing stuff. And that's what I do at work. I fix stuff. People come in and go, oh, I'm not on the same trail as me and my buddies, and I thought we were all going to be on the same trail together, and I thought I signed up. Is there any space left? Now you're asking?
Yeah, exactly.
Sign up early, folks, and sign up. Make sure for these events that you all sign up for the same thing. And so that's what I do is I try to get people on the same trail. Somebody else might say, oh, I don't want this trail. I want to go on that trail. So I got an open spot here. So now I can move you over here and, and stuff like that. So, and then people come up and say, well, I've got 10 people to go on a trail today. What do you got? Are you out of your mind?
Yeah, you can hit the drive-through at Jack in the Box.
Yeah. It's like, do we have drug testing over at table 3, please? Yes. And then God bless this one guy. He's in one of the clubs here in Utah. He comes up to me and goes, Sarge, you put me on that trail and it was too much for me. And I'm looking at him like, what? And he says, yeah, and he's shaking. He's still shaking. And I'm like, okay, let me look what I put you on. Like, I put you on a 4 and you're driving a Rubicon. What was wrong with the trail? Oh, that was just, that was too much trail. Okay. So I moved him down to a 3 for the next day and he was very happy, and then some people are like, you think you could have put me on an easier trail? Huh? It's like, well,
Not like I didn't even get out of the parking lot.
Oh, how many have had that problem? Yeah. Oh, then they can't get out of the parking lot. They want their money back.
Right.
Yeah. Or it says in great big letters, no refunds.
Exactly. Because by then all the work's done. Sorry.
Yeah, it's all the work's done. Everything's paid for. I'm sorry that, Now there's been a couple where I've made exceptions, like, you fell and broke your leg, and I actually know that you did fall, and I actually do know that you did break your leg. All right, that's a family emergency and stuff like that. And I think during COVID we gave back, we gave that back and stuff like that.
Right.
Then we had a big joke going around with a couple of us down there at Easter Jeep Safari one year where they wouldn't let us put on the event because of COVID, but you could have a funeral and you could have a wedding.
Right.
Well, I happen to be a representative of the Weber County Clerk's Office. You look on the Weber County Clerk's Office on who can perform wedding ceremonies. I'm your guy. And so we were making a joke that we were going to have a big wedding down in Moab and invite everybody and just put on trails.
For 7 days or 10
For
days.
7-day wedding ceremony, either that or, I've got a cargo glide in the back of my pickup truck. And the other thing we were joking about doing, well, you could have a funeral. Well, did you know that you can buy a casket off of Amazon?
Oh, I don't doubt it. You can get anything off of Amazon.
You can get a casket and you can get one for like $700. I was thinking, if we put a casket in the back of my truck and slide the bed out all the way, okay, and drive around and say we're having a funeral all week, we could have a big wake and go out and do trails. Well, of course, we couldn't get away with that. And
No.
my wife got a little mad about the wedding thing. And now you're talking about events. I got to tell you this. I did a wedding on a trail in Price, Utah.
Really?
Yep. It was really cool. I got invited to come down to Price, and I don't want to do the same. I don't like to go to a wedding chapel and do a wedding. I'm not your guy for that. I want to do weddings in the middle of nowhere, Utah, on a trail. 7 Mile Rim. I don't care. Dead Horse Point, Schaefer's Trail, somewhere, a destination. Elephant Hill would be a great one. But and people have had weddings out there. And anyway, I got invited down to Price, Utah, to do a wedding for Jen and her husband and Brian. And we did it out on a trail with we had a whole bunch of Jeeps lined up behind us. And we did it out there on the trail. I thought that was really cool. And then had a little reception back at the house. And that was really, really fun to do.
And memorable. Yep. Because everybody
memorable.
was having a good time.
Yep. Everybody was having a good time. And, I can't even think of any off-roading event, demolition derby, rock crawl, tractor pull, mud bog, where everybody hasn't had a good time. I mean, that's just fun stuff. I did get to perform in the Delta Center one time with my Ram Charger, one of my Ram Chargers.
Oh,
that
really?
was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Tough
we
truck?
did. It was tough truck, and we did a mud bog down the middle.
Nice.
A single lane mud pit, and I blew an engine, but it was time for a new one anyway. That's why I did it. And built a custom 360 for that thing. It was really fun. Anyway, but yeah, all the event, it's always good how we've all treated each other. And that's the important thing. And that's what family and fun is all about. And getting out there and doing the sports. I mean, there's people who complain about their team and their job, and stuff like that. I mean, nah, and you might not like your job, but I'll tell you what, I have never thought of it when I was out there with you guys as a job. I was out there having fun, helping families make memories. And that to me has always been a very important thing, is to take care of families and take care of friends and take care of my family.
Right. Absolutely. Well, on that note, Matt, I'd like to say thank you so much for spending the time and talking about all the things that you've done and your history. And I really appreciate your friendship over the years.
I really appreciate you and your wife and your family and all the great times we have had together. And everybody who's listening, who know me, I hope we've all had a great time together. And I look forward to breaking bread.
Absolutely. And you take care, and go ahead and go back to work. And we won't mention where you're working.
Take care, my friend.
All right, you too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, that's another episode of Conversations with Big Rich. I'd like to thank you all for listening. If you could do us a favor and leave us a review on any podcast service that you happen to be listening on, or send us an email or a text message or a Facebook message, and let me know any ideas that you have, or if there's anybody that you have that you think would be a great guest, please forward the contact information to me so that we can try to get them on. And always remember, live life to the fullest. Enjoying life is a must. Follow your dreams and live life with all the gusto you can. Thank you.